Today, we will have a look at US vs China. Is China going to be more powerful in 2024? Who is real hero? US vs China military power. China's 2024 economic growth objective is only 5%, a significant departure from the double-digit growth that drove the second-largest economy in the world for decades. On Tuesday, the objective was formally announced by China's rubber-stamped National People's Congress, NPC, despite significant challenges to the country's $18 trillion economy. Premier Li Qiang of China issued his first work report of the year, stating that we should communicate policies to the public in a well-targeted way to create a stable, transparent, and predictable policy environment. Li said that Beijing will continue to advance transforming the growth model, which would involve tax reform, tech talent development, increased domestic consumption, the removal of obstacles to private investment, and the issuance of 1 trillion yuan, $139 billion, in special government bonds. Li stated, "We should be well prepared for all risks and challenges, and should not lose sight of worst-case scenarios." According to Li, the government wants to reduce the unemployment rate to 5.5% and create 12 million new jobs in metropolitan areas. Li added that China will spend 7.2% more on the military, amounting to 1.66 trillion yuan. China's economic roadmap, which is in keeping with the objective from the previous year, is released at a time when the country's economy is facing several difficulties, such as a property crisis, a slowdown in exports, geopolitical concerns with the US, a declining population, enormous debt, and historically high rates of youth unemployment. Official GDP growth in China in 2023 was 5.2%, the lowest level in decades, barring the COVID-19 pandemic dip. According to Gary Yang, an economist at Natixis in Hong Kong, the around 5% growth target shows China has moved away from chasing a fixed number with other policy priorities, such as the tech competition with the US and security gaining importance, as reported by Al Jazeera. Growth will probably gradually slow down in the future because the government only wants stability in the economy, so it is difficult to expect any kind of bazooka type of stimulus. Li stated in his speech that the economy is experiencing multiple challenges, such as challenging external conditions and accumulated and deep-rooted problems. Investors are keeping a close eye on the yearly conference in hopes of hearing announcements meant to boost economic confidence. With $68.7 billion in corporate and personal money leaving China last year, foreign investors have been leaving the country at historic rates. Because Beijing is opposed to large-scale social spending, analysts have reduced their hopes for comprehensive economic stimulus measures. The declaration of a smaller budget deficit objective, according to Alicia Garcia Herrero, head economist for Asia-Pacific at Natixis, indicates that Beijing has no plan to meet its growth target, which will probably be harder to meet than it was the previous year. Garcia Herrero told Al Jazeera, "It means no stimulus whatsoever, a little bit more on the special government bonds, but it's very, very small. This implies that we ought to question how they plan to accomplish this goal." Li made his remarks on Tuesday following the announcement by authorities that for the first time since 1993, the premier will not hold a press conference at the conclusion of the legislature's annual session. The action has been interpreted as another illustration of Chinese President Xi Jinping's attempts to consolidate power inside the Communist Party, which is currently in power. Though their respective markets are still relatively small at this time, green investments, the digital economy, technology, and innovation are a few other sectors that are developing as new economic drivers and are receiving substantial government backing. It seems that you're still so hit the subscribe button and give a thumbs up to this video. She added that consumption will be another important factor propelling growth and reducing the drain from weak external demand. Because there is still a chance that developed markets may experience a recession, she added, "We might see some challenges from external demand, but that downside pressure might be partially offset by the recovery of domestic demand." According to China's most recent economic data, which was revealed this month, the GDP of the nation grew by 5.2%, exceeding the official goal of 5%. According to figures from the National Bureau of Statistics, the property sector continued to be a drive on growth, declining by about 0.6%, while consumption was the primary driver, accounting for 4.3% of the total growth. Liu stated that although employment and incomes must increase for a rebound in consumption to continue, these tailwinds will finally materialize with a cyclical recovery. Consumption will return to a more sustainable growth trajectory as firms expand, as more businesses hire people again, and as wage growth continues. An increase in the number of high-income households in China is another indication that the country's GDP is expected to rise more steadily due to consumption upgrades, which would increase the contribution from the household sector. The real estate industry will continue to be a burden on the economy as China implements further structural changes to its growth strategy. But Liu pointed out that given the robust momentum in manufacturing and consumption, the sector's decline is unlikely to derail growth this time around. For the simple reason that legislators have been addressing these problems in order to stabilize the real estate market through gradual relaxation, I believe it is reasonable to draw the conclusion that the fastest rate of drop may be behind us, she added. Demand-side perspective suggests that the property sector won't deviate from where it is now as income rises and the cyclical recovery persists. These factors will stabilize GDP growth and sentiment. In 2024, the U.S. military will still be the strongest in the world, according to a new global firepower rating. Based on more than 60 criteria, including the quantity of troops, military hardware, and financial stability, the ranking assessed 145 nations. According to the assessment, the U.S. military emerged victorious by demonstrating commanding numbers in important material, financial, and resource categories. It is said to possess the most in the world: 92 destroyers, 11 aircraft carriers, 13,300 aircraft, and 983 attack helicopters. With a budget of $886 billion, it is also the nation on the list with the most amount. The armed forces of China and Russia, ranked second and third respectively, are nearly as powerful as the U.S. military. In contrast, China on Tuesday unveiled a proposed defense budget for 2024 totaling 1.6654 trillion yuan, or $231.36 billion, a 7.2% increase over the previous year. According to experts, China's national defense development has been reasonable, restricted, and steady, taking into account factors such as economic development, military modernization, and external security settings. These elements have resulted in a moderate number. The country's top legislature, the 14th National People's Congress (NPC), opened its second session on Tuesday and unveiled a draft budget report that included the proposed defense budget. Since 2016, China's defense budget has grown by single digits 9 times in a row. Additionally, the growth rate was fixed at 7.2% in 2023 after fluctuating steadily between 6% and 8% in the preceding years. U.S. defense planning and spending prioritized China's military modernization efforts, particularly its Navy modernization initiatives. China's naval modernization program, which began in the early to mid-1990s and has lasted for around 30 years, has made China's fleet far more sophisticated and potent. In addition to being a strong military force in China's near seas area, the Chinese Navy is increasingly involved in operations in the Western Pacific, Indian Ocean, and waterways surrounding Europe. China has the largest fleet of any nation in East Asia, and somewhere between 2015 and 2020 it overtook the United States fleet in terms of the quantity of battle force ships, that is, the kinds of ships that are included in the stated size of the U.S. Navy. With a battle force of over 370 platforms, including major surface combatants, submarines, ocean-going amphibious ships, mine warfare ships, aircraft carriers, and fleet auxiliaries, China's Navy, according to the DoD, is the largest navy in the world. Interestingly, this number excludes about 60 patrol combatants of the HOUEI class, which are equipped with anti-ship cruise missiles (ASCM). It is anticipated that by 2025, China's Navy will have 395 ships total, and by 2030, it will have 435 ships. Comparatively, as of January 29, 2024, the U.S. Navy had 292 combat force ships, according to the Navy's FY 2024 budget request. The Navy will have 290 battle force ships by the end of FY 2030. The pace of China's naval shipbuilding effort, the capacity of China's shipbuilding industry relative to the U.S. shipbuilding industry, and the ensuing trend lines regarding the relative sizes and capabilities of China's Navy and the U.S. Navy are causing concern or alarm among U.S. military officials and other observers. In addition to improvements in logistics, doctrine, personnel quality, education and training, and exercises, China's naval modernization effort includes a wide range of ship, aircraft, weapon, and C4ISR, command and control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance acquisition programs. China is attempting to address the constraints and shortcomings that its fleet now faces. China's efforts to modernize its military, including its naval forces, are evaluated as having the following goals: strengthening China's military power to deal with Taiwan if necessary, gaining more control or dominance over its near seas region, especially the South China Sea, protecting its commercial sea lines of communication, SLOCs, especially those that connect it to the Persian Gulf, countering U.S. influence in the Western Pacific, and reaffirming China's standing as the dominant regional and global power. According to reports, China wants its Navy to be able to function as a component of an anti-access/area denial, a 2/AD force. This force would be able to either prevent or hinder U.S. intervention in a conflict in China's near seas region over Taiwan or another issue. This is it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. See you next time.